A curious thing about light and darkness for the mind would be that, well, the two are not even related. Now, to the human minds, there is this quote that says there is no darkness without light, and there is no light without darkness. Now, science is nothing else than, factitious meaning. It is just a meaning created for the mind. It is just food for thought. And most of it doesn't serve any other purpose than just distracting yourself from the pains of your life and from taking greater responsibility about who and what you are. When it comes to the cosmos, there is always darkness, because darkness doesn't mean necessarily absence of light. It just means your perception is not advanced enough to pierce through that which lies around you. Because if you go in a place where the light is dim, the point is you can simply close your eyes and you'll basically see nothing, right? The point is the light may be dim enough, but if you close your eyes, most likely you won't see anything anymore. So once your eyes are closed, it doesn't mean that suddenly there's darkness around you, but it just goes to show that, well, suddenly there is, well, so much more that could be perceived, yet your perception and your connection to the universe and your surrounding are not strong enough. When it comes to the whole universe, when we look at, the night sky, most people will have the impression that the stars are very close one to the other, because that's how they might look to the human eye when they are, those lights are basically on the sky. When you look at how people create movies, including blockbusters, right? When you see those sci-fis, the action always seems to take place on a horizontal plane only. Ships and the such don't ever seem to be going upwards and downwards. It's just horizontal, because that's basically how our psyche is meant, right? We are terrestrial beings. We do not live in water or space, right? To know that basically all the possible directions, right? 300 degrees around our center are basically possible. When it comes to space, each star is very different. Well, it is, yes, very different from the others, but it is also very far away from the others. Take, for example, the closest star to our system. It is 4 light years away. 4 light years means 4 years traveling at the speed of light. This means that basically there's a whole lot of darkness in between those two spaces. But darkness is basically omnipresent, right? And darkness basically it is eternal, because darkness is basically all around. It doesn't need anything to exist. Light, on the other hand, needs something to exist. Technically, light means something is burning away, right? Something is burning and it produces light. Well, when it comes to stars, something is burning, right? Well, they themselves are burning at their core, and as they are burning through their own material, they are producing heat and light. When it comes to a fire that is, started in, I don't know, in your house through a certain device, well, again, there is something that's burning, right? When it comes to aircraft, right, they use propellant, right? They move forward, but they still leave something behind. So, in order for light to be produced, something must be burning, right? Even your existence. If you take look from a spectral perspective, you're technically also light. Your body and every physical object has a so-called aura. Now that aura means that, well, there technically is some sort of light, either light reflecting from the sun in the case of our planet, or they also seem to have a certain energy of their own, and, well, technically they're also burning through a bit of energy. As we know, atoms and, matter simply shifts from existence back into inexistence, and then it shifts back into existence. Probably, dark matter has its own ways of shifting into more compacted forms, aka energy, and matter, and then shifting back into less compact, aka back into antimatter. When it comes to darkness, Darkness is omnipresent. It is technically everywhere. But darkness is basically subjective. Darkness is nothing else than the limit of one's perception. If we humans only can perceive less than 1% of the visual spectrum of light in the universe, it means we are technically extremely blind to whatever there is. Now, point is, ghosts and as such exist, but our physical perception is not attuned to actually perceive them with the naked eyes. If one can end up using their limbic system in the brain in a certain way, and they may end up seeing auras and such, they can actually perceive ghosts. But one doesn't need to perceive a ghost visually. They may also perceive it electromagnetically, because they are basically nothing else than energy. They are a frequency, and that frequency can easily shift from a certain state to another. Not having the limit of physicality, they can easily tend towards states of emotion that are seemingly endless, right? They can go through endless, like almost infinite potential of rage or fear or even excitement, right? That is why they may be far more powerful and at the same time deadly to the living, because the living means a limitation. Your whole body can take a certain amount of energy. If that energy goes beyond the limit, you either break the body or the body reaches a certain energetic state that is far superior to its own physicality. So if life becomes that vibrant, it will automatically leave the body because, the physical body may no longer sustain it. So when it comes to darkness, darkness is just a limitation of how much one's body may perceive. Because light to a bee will most likely be different than light to a human. And, darkness to a cat will be different than darkness of a dog. And light for a dog will be different than light for a cat and, light for a human. And light for a bee, right? And so on and so forth. So darkness is basically eternal. But that which lies in darkness, is that which your physical body can no longer see, or basically said cannot see, naturally speaking. With spiritual attunement and as such, one may ascend through different levels of dimensions and may end up perceiving different things. But to the most common seer, right, the one who uses their physical body and just that, if you turn on a light, the point is, the darkness is not no longer. Right? Many people say, if a room is completely dark and you turn on a light, the point is the darkness is no more. But technically the darkness is still there. It is just for your physical body. You perceive the light and, it has far more importance. But you haven't expelled anything from there. And, in light, it is much harder to see certain things. Because when it comes to darkness, can you see that which lies in there? Because light is easy. Light is distraction, and it is always the path of the weak, because the weak will always seek the light. Look, for example, at superpowers like America. When they fight lower countries, because America has a reputation of invading so many countries because of people's ignorance. The point is, when they are invading different countries, they are taught to simply expect that those countries will simply surrender. But the weaker will never surrender because they will have to fight. So the point is, in such a situation, they will simply feel pissed, right? They always want people to fight them in the open. That is always the path of the weak. But the strong will always adapt. The point is, if one can attune their senses to pierce through darkness, right, those will be the ones who will be far more adaptive. Because darkness ultimately is nothing else than the limitation of the physical. All this being said, hopefully you appreciated this video, hopefully you found it introspective enough. You are appreciated, take care of yourselves. Ferinjan Board signing out.